But if we're going to learn one thing about when it comes to getting free from the prison of guilt in our life, if there's one thing that Psalm 51 teaches us, it is that confession is the key that unlocks the door to the prison of guilt. If you want freedom from guilt in your life, the way to have freedom from guilt is through the power of confession. This is the sermon that no one likes to hear. If you want freedom from what's weighing you down and this heaviness and this burden of guilt, guilt is at the same time the most invisible of prisons and yet the heaviest. No one can really see it. We present a good face, but deep down underneath we're miserable, we're broken, our bones are wasting away, the suppression, you feel all of that. How do you get rid of it? How do you get that chain off of you? How do you break it? Through the power of confession. And it's a specific kind of confession, isn't it? Psalm 51 isn't the kind of confession that's just like, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It's not a political confession or a political apology. If I offended anyone, I'm truly sorry. Hedging, protecting yourself. David has a very particular, defined kind of confession. And so that's what I want us to really unpack. There's something on the front end of it, and there's something on the back end of it. Something that David does before his confession, something that happens in his heart before he gives his confession to the Lord. And there's something inside of David's heart that after he has made this confession, he's wanting something to happen in his life. And so what's on the front end is that David has an understanding of sin in the way that God has an understanding of sin. David owns his sin. He understands it. He takes full responsibility for it. And he doesn't see sin just as a mistake, but he sees it as something that is truly offensive to God. And he is mourning over it, and he hates his sin the way God hates its sin. That's the first thing. The second thing is that David doesn't just confess and say, I'll try harder next time. He confesses with this anticipation that God is going to change his heart, that God is going to change his life. That confession, it really has this built-in repentance and this desire that God will change me. You can't have true confession without a desire for change. You can't have biblical confession without seeing the sinfulness of sin and anticipating the reality of change.